Today's sponsor of the Vision Quest podcast is 920 Hat Company. Leather patch hats are in, and 920 Hat Company is here to hook you up with your very own custom hat. All patches are lasered on top-grade genuine leather and on popular brand hats like Richardson and FlexFit. Whether you're looking to show off your business or want a one-of-a-kind hat for yourself, 920 Hat Company can do it all. All the hats are handcrafted right in the Fox Valley, but worn across America. With over 500 hats in stock, they guarantee fast turnaround times. Honestly, Liam, looking at these hats, solid, right?
Yeah, they're pretty. I like them.
I like that patch itself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one-of-a-kind stuff. I know his name's Trevor. He does great work. He's actually gotten I think we got a knit hat coming.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we got that coming. So we're really excited to have these guys on board as a sponsor. So get down to check them out on Facebook. I believe they're on Instagram. Check them out, man. They got the best hats, I think, in the Fox Valley, if not in the state.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So get down to 920 Hat Company on social media and check them out. All right, everybody. We are here for another episode of the Vision Quest podcast. We have a pretty cool guest, man. It's exciting to be able to have you. I've had Kylie Welker. All you guys have been nothing but positive forces within the sport. It's been great having you on. Right now, I have with me Brooke Crawley of 360 Jiu-Jitsu, and you're also the assistant coach at Brookfield East, correct?
Yes.
Had to make sure I got that right. Remember I got that right? I was like, I don't know every single thing. I try to, but it's one of those things. But I'm really happy to have you on. It's really cool to be able to talk to you guys and talk about your journeys, because it's kind of funny. There's certain guys I'll talk to that I can talk to for 2 hours, but there's some other guys that you get like this full story, and it's such a short span. You're like, wait a minute, you're this old, but you guys have lots to tell even at your age, as far as what you've gone through and just the transitioning into another sport. Because as you and I were kind of talking about, you started in jiu-jitsu, so wrestling wasn't the first thing. So knowing where you come from, your dad, Nick, and things like that, what are the things that you start remembering as far as combat sports? Where do you start falling into the memory lanes of things coming in?
Yeah, so like my first memory kind of.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest first memory that I've had was, my dad, put me and my brother into jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
I was about 8 years old, and I think my brother was like 6.
Okay.
So we were really little, and I didn't really enjoy it at first. So I actually ended up quitting it.
Okay.
For about 6 months. I really liked soccer.
Yes.
At that time.
Thank you.
Yes. I was very competitive in that.
Yeah. Good.
So that's what I wanted to do when I was younger. So I quit for a little bit, and then I went and I watched my brother's tournament. I think it was his first tournament.
Okay.
And I remember just sitting up in the stands, and I was like, I got all the nerves and adrenaline, and I wanted to help him, and I wanted to be out on the mats. And after that, I told my parents, I was like, hey, I want to go back and I want to go compete and stuff. Yeah. So I would say that's kind of the biggest memory at the youngest age that I have of combat sports was just when I really was I want to do this.
Yeah. So was that, so you were watching Aiden, you were watching him wrestle, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Or no, he was doing jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, okay.
He started jiu-jitsu first as
He
well.
also started jiu-jitsu. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, you saw him compete and you got that itch. So the little break was probably just enough to kind of get your mind off of it. But then you like you said, you got that adrenaline rush. So with that being said, how did your transition back into it go then? Did you have a different frame of mind just after that little bit of a break, and you're like, this is it. This is what I want to do?
I mean, I was so young that I don't really remember.
Okay.
I just remember having a lot of fun. I had
that's good.
2 really close girlfriends, and we would all hang out and stuff. And we just
I lost you for a second there. Are you there? Brooke kind of fell out on me here, which leaves me alone. So I watched some of her jiu-jitsu before. It's unreal on like the holds that those guys have. We're just kind of waiting for Brooke to come back here, but the holds that they had, even at their age level, and is a story that came with the girl that she had competed against, a Canadian, but she left. She'll be back in, but apparently the girl had competed or something and then came back in. There she is. Hey.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I don't know what just happened.
I was talking about a match that you had that was I just kind of carried through with that I watched one of your jiu-jitsu matches against a Canadian girl, watching in the holds that you guys have, the amount of time that both of you sat, not sitting, because even the way that they were explaining it, that there was stuff going on. Like there are things going on you just don't see. So like as a wrestler sitting there watching, I'm like, yes, she's pinned. Like she's been holding her there for how she's done. Pin her. See, slap your hand. But that is all part of it. And so knowing that and watching that, and you're like, yeah, I want to do this again. How did that? You were kind of getting into the transition of how that was for you, kind of getting back in. What was that like?
I don't know where it cut out, but I was saying like I don't really like I was so young that I don't really remember much about like the whole like transition back into it.
You had fun.
Yes, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of friends. There was a few girls that we were all really, really close. Yeah. So we would go like tournaments together, and then we had, my brother too. He's like my best friend. Yeah. So like
that's cool.
We would have a ton of fun just going like every single weekend to like competitions. And my dad, he was awesome. He took us to all of those, and
I can only imagine.
So, yeah.
were there sometimes too, so knowing what he's a coach, right? He's a jiu-jitsu coach. Was he a coach at the time? My dad? Yeah. Well, he's not really a jiu-jitsu coach right now. He did help out like, when we were younger. Hey, dude, that's enough for me. The guys that are on the side helping out, you know what I'm saying? That's big. But he was your coach, right? You guys went somewhere. He was there to help. So, that's the same thing with me, like with Liam. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not like, I watch, and that's why I go to some of the practice just so I know, at least I know somewhat of what I'm talking about. But being that I took Liam to a lot of tournaments when he was younger. Did your dad do that with you too? Like, here, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Is it the same thing in the jiu-jitsu world as it is in the wrestling world?
Yeah,
lots of stuff.
So my dad, he would just sign us up like almost, I feel like we competed like every single weekend.
Yeah.
So like, which I loved it. I love to compete. Yeah. So like, I didn't mind it. And I honestly, looking back, I think it was one of the best things that like I did when I was younger, because I learned how to compete, what I needed to do before my competitions, you know, like whether like what to eat, and like all of those things like went into it. And like my mental, like I knew like if I didn't have like this certain mindset, like I wouldn't be able to go out in there and perform. Sure. And I learned that all from like a young age. But yeah, my dad took us to all of those tournaments, and he actually didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu at first.
Nice.
So he kind of would just be on the sidelines and be like, go. And then he was like, he was the only like coach there. So coach.
Yeah. Right.
He was like, so he was like, I need to learn how to do this. So that's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu is like, there's adult classes. Yeah. So like my dad just joined the adults classes. And he learned. And so then he was able to know what we were going through and like how to coach us, because, since we did compete so much, my coach wasn't able to be there every single weekend.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, which is completely understandable. Yep. So like, I think that was really cool.
So, it's the same thing with me. Other than the competition that I did way back when, and just knowing that it's not an easy sport, and I can't imagine jiu-jitsu is any easier. Especially when you're highly competitive. Is the weight cutting the same kind of thing as it is in wrestling?
No, I really didn't even remember really weighing in when I was little.
Really?
I didn't start cutting weight until I started wrestling. There was one, like my last jiu-jitsu tournament where my dad actually signed me up for like the wrong weight class.
Oops.
So I had to like cut like 10 pounds. So like that was like my first like thing ever cutting weight for.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, jiu-jitsu, we would just kind of like, I'd be like 100 pounds. So my dad would like sign me up for like 115 and like.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
And you know, honestly, that's because you heard of the horror stories, you know, whether either in jiu-jitsu or in wrestling, but you hear the horror stories about, oh, this kid's trying to cut like this. And then you hear about how they wrestled because of all the weight cutting, you know, things like that. So we heard a lot of that. So it was one of those things where we're just like, no, you know, we're not going to do that. So Liam was the same thing with wrestling. He was kind of wrestling up a weight class or just a pound, you know, it was literally just cutting a pound. We didn't eat last night or something like that. I didn't eat as much. So we totally understand that perspective and it's the healthiest perspective because you're also still allowing that growth. And I think,
we were little. Yeah,
exactly. And here's the thing though, too, is like, you don't know how it's going to affect a kid's growth until they grow, you know?
Yeah.
And then you see it and it's too late. It's to the point to where little kids have just, like you said, and when you came back, you were having fun, you know?
Yeah.
There's no fun.
That's the biggest thing.
In not eating, right? Who doesn't want to eat? So I think it's a big proponent. It's good to hear that too, that from the jiu-jitsu crowd as well, that it's not a crazy thing.
It's a big thing.
Yeah. So
I didn't even know it was a thing.
How long did you wrestle or do jiu-jitsu before you ran into wrestling? Was it accidental?
Well, no, it was so my brother started wrestling before me. He started in like middle school, I want to say, like 6th grade.
Yep.
So when he started wrestling, it was kind of like, oh, like, I don't know. It was like something that I like kind of thought about, but then I was like, nah, girls don't do that. Like I didn't know anything about it.
Sure.
So, and I was like, I don't know why I would even ever do that. Like, I literally didn't want to do it ever. Like, I was like so against it.
Yeah.
And then in my jiu-jitsu competitions and stuff, there's this thing, I don't know, you said that you watched one of my matches.
Yep.
So when we like sit to our butts, that's like called pulling guard.
Yep.
So that's what I would do. I was really, really good at that.
Yeah.
But one of the defaults of that is that 1, it's no points, and 2, like you can get stuck there.
Yep.
And if you can't sweep them or if you can't like submit them, then like you're kind of just stuck.
You're just there.
So yeah. So like I loved pulling guard, but in some of the bigger tournaments, I would pull guard and then I'd get stuck and then it would be left to rest decision. So it'd be like 0-0 and they'd choose whoever they thought was going for more things.
More offense,
whether like, yes.
Yeah.
So I lost a few tournaments like that. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, how can I get better? And I was like, takedowns. And I was like, wrestling. So,
yep.
And then, so I think I joined wrestling at Max's gym in Mequon.
Oh, yeah.
The AWA.
Yeah.
So I joined there for a little bit at like the end of my sophomore year.
Okay.
Sure. And I was really like, I don't know. I was just doing it for like jiu-jitsu. So like, and I really didn't understand it at all.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I only thought it was like takedowns.
Yeah.
So, but then my first class there, I'm learning how to like shelf the leg.
Yep.
When like they sprawl down and I'm like, what am I even learning? Like, I was like so lost.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really enjoy it that much.
Okay.
So I don't think I really like stayed with it over the summer. Like I said, it was at the end of my sophomore year.
Sure.
So then that summer, I think I just did jiu-jitsu.
Did you pick up anything off of that? Like just that little bit of time? Was there something that you picked up off of wrestling though, that you were able to then translate to jiu-jitsu? Yeah. In that little bit of time?
I don't really know.
Single leg? No?
I honestly, the main thing that I remember, I think, was the shelving the leg.
Yep. It's important.
But like Yes, it really is. Like looking back, like I like use that all the time.
Right.
And like in wrestling now.
Yep.
But like back then I was like, why this isn't a takedown?
I have no
like,
use for this.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's like when I like kind of like ran into like wrestling, I guess, was like my sophomore year. And then I didn't really get into it until my junior year.
Yeah.
That high school season.
Okay.
Because then I knew my brother, he was a freshman at the time.
Yep.
So
Aiden.
Yes.
Shout out to Aiden Crawley. What's up, dude? Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
He was a freshman, so he was joining the team, and I was like, okay, I'll know him.
Yep.
And then I also knew one of the wrestlers. He had over that summer he had joined Jiu-Jitsu at our gym.
Okay.
So I like knew him too.
Nice.
So I was like, I know like two guys.
Things are starting to blend a little bit now. They're starting to jive together. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I guess like I'll try it out and join the wrestling team for my high school. And then that's when I really, really got into it.
Okay. So with that, it sounds like you really have to, like, you test things. You gotta,
yes.
You're like, no, you know, but you're an athletic person. Like you have very good athletic moves. I mean, as far as just athleticism, you know, so it seemed only natural that you'd be drawn to these types of sports, and knowing that, you know, how you came back to jiu-jitsu, and then it was the same thing with wrestling. You're like, what is this? I have no use for this. And you're like, wait a minute, this is actually kind of fun, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see your growth. So when you started to wrestle, were you finding yourself maybe liking wrestling a little more than jiu-jitsu? Did you maybe see yourself waning a little bit?
Yeah, so when I like joined like the high school team, I started like, I mean, at least at our school, like he like went over all of like the basics.
Okay. Yeah.
So like I was getting like all of my fundamentals, you know, and like that was like so helpful for me, because then I was like, okay, like I got like the takedowns. I understand. I mean, we were learning folk style at that time. So like I understand like the stand-ups and like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was super, super helpful. So like I understood that. And then like actually wrestling in a match, like that helped so much. Because then like I don't know, I just knew like what I needed to do in a match, and then I would practice it, obviously, in practice. So once I mean, that season, my first season was like so much fun, because like I feel like our team, we had a full lineup, so like that was super fun, because like our team was doing really well together, and we had like such a good just like what do they call it, like culture almost. Like we just like, it was like
it's a
family,
culture.
like,
exactly, that's what it is. It's a culture for sure.
Like, so, and I don't know, it was just, I'd never done like in jiu-jitsu, you go to tournaments by yourself. I was with my brother and my dad and my mom, and like that's like really it. But then I'm
losing you again. I saw you freeze. So we'll have to wait for her to come back. She's not moving anything. she's literally just sitting there. She didn't do anything. See, and I'm just explaining to everybody, like, you're literally not touching anything. All you're doing is talking. You're just there, and then I see the picture freeze. I'm like, it's gonna go. It's going. So hey, it's fine.
I saw you freeze too.
It's fine. We're good, right? So you're kind of talking a little bit, you know, keep going with what you're going with.
Yeah. Where did it cut out at, like,
you start right where you feel comfortable.
Okay. I think I was saying, like,
you like the
team.
So
the thing the team.
Yep.
So that's what I think really, like, I loved that, because in jiu-jitsu, it was just me, my brother, and my dad, and like my mom.
Yeah.
And then I never had like a team.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was like competing on the mat. So like at the duels, that was so fun. They're all like cheering. And like that's so cool. Like I never had that. And then I mean, I think that was like one of the things that I like, just draw. Like the team that was like the biggest thing. And then like I just love to compete. I just love it. So
you guys
being
don't
able
have
to compete so much.
You guys don't have any, like, you guys didn't go to as a group as like for a jiu-jitsu team? They don't do that. It's all individual.
I mean, we would try to,
sure,
but
it's not like
not
that.
all the
I
kids
guess
want to compete. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's not really like pushed that
Sure.
like you have to compete. Like so it was just like something that me and my brother wanted to do.
Yeah.
So like we did, and like there was like a few other kids that like we would like see them at every other tournament. So we would like
Sure.
like they would come, but it wasn't like a big group like wrestling where like everyone goes and competes every weekend.
Yeah, and that's what
So,
drew Liam to even more to wrestling as we got into the doing the New Way tournaments, you know, things like that as little kids, and so that's really what drew him into it as well. In with your transition though from you know, in between, I don't know if is there a jiu-jitsu season? Does their season?
It's kind of all year round.
I was gonna say I don't think their season ends either. But with you going into wrestling and knowing, like you're saying, pulling guard and all the different positions for jiu-jitsu, well, how was that transition? I'm sure a lot of people want to know what that's like from going from jiu-jitsu to wrestling. I mean, not only just first learning it, but even, you know, even guys going from folk style to freestyle and Greco. Now it's a different transition. How was that for you, transitioning between both sports like that?
Yeah, I mean, that first transition, it was definitely very weird. Not like it was, I would say like in practice, like being taken down and not like just like falling to my back, like having to like kind of like belly out,
down,
like that was weird. Like that was super weird. And then, but I would say that like I felt very comfortable on the mat.
Sure.
Just because I had always been on the mat for so long. So like, I don't know, I felt pretty comfortable, but like I would say like just like making sure I don't go to my back, obviously.
I was watching that one match I was watching and you held her forever, but like I would have been in that position for so long that I would have started to panic. Freaking out. I'm like, okay, it's
slow.
Good. But it's just, it's crazy to watch how different it is, but how the similarities there are. So it's knowing, you know, if you can turn your brain on and off to those transitions and make one thing, I think it's awesome. I think it's only an advantage. We had one guy on the team in Kakani here, Charles. He was a jiu-jitsu guy too. It helped his wrestling for sure, because I mean, just watching the holds and the things that he was able to stave off, you know, just defensively as well, you know. So being your transition into wrestling went so well the second time, and you're going into your junior year, you're talking about how did that go as far as, let's talk about a little bit about recruiting. Were you getting, was it your junior year, end of it, beginning? So how did that process go for you in getting notified or called or texted, whatever you were getting?
So I would say that it was like by the end of the year. I started getting like contacted by a few different colleges. Most of them were in Wisconsin.
Which right now is great. I mean, right now it's a great time, you know. So
So I wasn't even thinking about that at all. Like I was just like, I joined wrestling to get better at jiu-jitsu. That was literally it. So then like once I started getting like letters in the mail or like coaches reaching out, I was like, what? Like that's crazy. And so I think it was like that summer. So like at the end of my junior year, that's like when COVID happened.
That's right.
So so I think it was like during that summer, I was like, it was after girls state and team state. So then like it was like during that summer, we were just like literally just wrestling. I think I was just at Max's and we were just like wrestling every day. And like there was no tournaments really. I don't think there were. So we were just practicing, and I would go to Ben's and Heartland a little bit too. Because Matea rolled.
That's right.
She started training there. We met each other at Girls State. And she was I think she wrestled at 120 and I was at like 113 or something.
You were at 113 that year, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so she like contacted me after that and was like, hey, we should train.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that she had committed to North Central.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, she's going to college. Like, yeah, I'll totally wrestle with her.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
So we started training at Ben's location because that's closer to her. Mm-hmm. And then I think she was definitely the one who like introduced my name to the coaches at North Central.
Nice.
Which that was really cool, and I also wasn't expecting that. So It was just like during that summer, I would say in the beginning of my senior year as well, that I started getting college offers and stuff.
So what when you're talking about some of your, like the team state and things like that, how was your, but I guess I jumped the gun a little bit asking about recruiting, but how was your high school, season, that junior year? How was that for you as far as you were some pretty decent guys as far as the team that you had? Mm-hmm. So how was that season for you being, technically it's your first year, right?
It was my first year.
So, how was that for you? How did everybody take you as far as, coming on the team and being on the team? Was a big family kind of thing? It didn't matter.
They were so supportive.
That's good.
They really were.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was really scared that I would just like not really be included, but they always made sure to like invite me to everything.
Yeah.
And they always included me at the tournaments, and so they were super awesome.
Well, and you killed it your first year, I looked at some of your, the matches you had, it's not like they were easy matches, so you were doing really well. And that's why I was kind of curious as far as how the college thing went, as far as, picking, making your decision and who was reaching out. So, was it easy? Was it like, nope, because of this, I'm doing this? What went through your head when you decided to look into the other maybe options?
Yeah. I would say kind of like once I got the North Central offer, I was like, if I go anywhere, it's gonna be here. Sure. I hadn't even been there yet really, but like Lakeland had reached out to me, but I knew that I wouldn't want to go there because of the location.
Sure.
And same with Stevens Point.
And that's important. That's important stuff, So yeah.
Yeah, so those two schools, they reached out to me, and but then once I saw North Central, I was like, I don't even know really anything about it, but I feel like I was just really intrigued by them.
Sure.
And I knew Taya. I don't know, I can't really remember if that was a big, I don't think it was a huge thing that I knew her, but still she was
helps
a really good training partner for me. So that was cool that she brought up my name to them.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing all the other girls that were committing to North Central, and I was like, they are really good.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think I want to go here,
easy.
If I do go anywhere.
Yeah.
So
easy decision. So when you figured that out, probably part of the way through your senior year, how did things kind of roll out going from high school into college wrestling for you? How was that transition? Was that, and you're still doing jiu-jitsu yet, right? You're still.
I wasn't.
No.
At this time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wasn't expecting that. So
JJ break, huh?
Yeah. I literally just got back to jiu-jitsu after I came back from college.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my first time back.
Okay.
So it was about 3 years.
Okay.
That I was off of jiu-jitsu. I really went all in.
You did. Wrestling. And that's awesome. Yeah. That's, I think that's important. That's the other important thing, I think, for not just the kids, but the girls to hear that it's okay. When you're younger, and I think a lot of parents miss the message on the multi-sport thing. I think it's important for the kids to be able to know that there's other sports out there. So if they did want to make a choice, they can make a choice. But if a kid knows he wants to do one thing, let him do that one thing. Let him do that one thing. And especially at an older age, when that person has decided themselves that they want to do that one thing, that tells you that they have a passion for something. And it's important. And you guys, girls wrestling has brought, and women's wrestling has brought men's wrestling so far because of that. So they see these kids that are, and we talked to Lucas Stelta quite a bit and talk about how focusing on that sport, because you can only do it for so long anyways. School's always going to be there, right? education's important. And if there's a way you can get them both done, get them both done. But like watching how you said, hey, I'm all in on this. You know, sometimes it takes certain sacrifices, and you had a love, you know, you love jiu-jitsu, and you had to kind of put that to the side. So
yeah,
that's awesome. So with that being said, going into college, how was that wrestling? How was that transition?
It was really good. I would say I was so like ready to be done with folk style.
Yeah.
I was like my senior year, like I was having such like, I was like, why am I doing this? Like,
yeah.
Like it was like that type of thing. Like I just wanted to do freestyle because that's what girls were doing in college. And
yeah,
I think I was also putting like some like pressure on myself. Maybe I don't know if this is bad or not, but
if it
because
happens.
like the girls that were committing, I was like, they're really good, so like they're probably really good at freestyle. And I was like, I need to get better at freestyle. So like I mean, that was probably something that I just like made up kind of in my head.
Yeah. It was a good idea. It was a really good idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was really, really excited to just focus on freestyle. So after like folk style was done and we like made that like little transition, like I went right back to AWA and we started freestyle like right away. So
that was kind of the springboard for you, was going back by Max and doing a little Max time and working some freestyle. So with that being said, was there ever a question in your mind of, do I want to finish high school wrestling? Do I want to just go do this? Did that ever come up?
Like,
so like you, so because of the freestyle thing. Yeah. So just try to go full-time freestyle. Did that ever come up?
Yes,
it did.
I asked Max about that before my senior year.
Yep.
Yeah, before my senior year, or like the high school season was like coming up. I was like, hey, like I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do because we're doing freestyle in college but like I'm going to be doing folk style in this high school season. So like, what do you think I should do? And like, I remember him it was the main things like partners. There wouldn't be many partners for me to like train with in freestyle.
Makes sense.
I think that was like the main thing that he said. He was like, I would say just focus on folk style right now. And then after that's done, it's like go into your freestyle stuff.
Sure.
But
you know, and sometimes there's a lot to be said for that. It's good advice, because if you're looking for partners, they can't necessarily always come to you, and then you have to travel, and then that becomes then now you're rearranging a lot of stuff, and you got folk style that you can kind of lean on a little bit, you know, to help you. So I see where he's coming from on that. This will be the best route to be able to you know, sustain. So that's good advice. I love Max. Max is a great guy.
He's a good coach.
So once you got into college, how was the schedule? Was that harder than what you were used to in high school? How did that feel going into college and experiencing that first year?
Yeah, I loved it.
Did you?
I really did. It was just so cool.
Yeah.
Like had like so many girls.
Yeah.
Like I was like, there's 40 of us like on a team.
That's awesome.
And like that's just crazy. Like we're all from like everywhere. There was like a girl from like Hungary, I think. Like she was on the team. Like we literally came from everywhere.
You mean like everywhere?
Yes.
Wow, nice.
And so like I'm almost positive it was Hungary. I hope I didn't get that wrong.
Wasn't here, but either way.
Whatever. Yeah, it wasn't here.
Right.
Yeah. So that was just so awesome. And I made like two like really, really best like super close friends. I'm still like close to them.
And that's cool.
It was like my roommate and then this one other girl, and we would like just like push each other.
That's the best.
Like our first week, like we got there and we like went and we wrestled together, and then after we were like, hey, like let's go like do some stairs on the bleachers, and like it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is like my dream.
Next level stuff, man. Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Like it was just so cool.
That's great.
So, and I hadn't had any girls like that. Like I would explain like the whole North Central team, they were all just like a bunch of like alpha female girls.
Yeah.
If that like makes Like, I didn't have that many girls that would like push me. So like to have all of them and like the whole team's like that. Like, so it was just like so cool.
Yeah.
And like we all just wanted to get better, basically. And so
and push each other that
I
level.
loved it. Yeah.
So what were like 2 or 3 highlights that you have from your college wrestling as far as accomplishments or just memorable moments? You talk about the bonds that you created with some of the girls and things like that, but I mean, were there some individual moments where it was something that you reached that you'd done, that you're like, yes, okay, I notched that one off. What kind of things really stick out in your mind like that through your college career?
In my college career, I would say the biggest things that like I was very like proud of myself for.
Yeah.
Like, is that like what you're...
Yeah. It's a personal thing. This has to be something that's on a big board. That doesn't have to be that.
Yeah. I would say like I didn't realize how much I could like really, really push myself.
Yeah.
I mean, so every single day we would have like our practices at the end of the day. Normally it was like I don't know, like it would switch off between the boys and the guys. Or I mean, well, the girls and the boys.
Boys, guys, days, he, whatever. We don't know what it is anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, it would switch off between the two teams. So I don't know, we would have like our probably like hour and a half, 2-hour practice in the evening. And then in the mornings my lifts were normally in the morning.
Yeah.
So we would have lifts like 3 times a week, I want to say.
Okay.
But then before that, a lot of the times I would wake up really early before like the lift.
Yeah.
And I would go wrestle with a few of the girls.
Yep.
And I would do that like, it was like throughout the season I would do that. Like I would try to get like 2 practices in almost every day.
Yeah.
I would want to say. So it might not have been every day. I don't know.
Probably felt
we
like
would get
in
a lot of practices, and then like after I would like be like biking and stuff. So like just seeing how much I like did, I would say I was really proud of myself with like I like was just constantly in there, and I was like every single time my dad would call me, I'd be like, yeah, I just got done with like my practice, like, blah, blah, blah. And like he's like, you were literally always in the wrestling room.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I know. I don't know. But so like I would say I was really proud of myself for like just I like really put like so much like
you're a mat rat, man, and that's what it takes. Mat rats, and a lot of the guys that do that stuff and girls that do that stuff, it's not something that is necessarily born into them, but everybody kind of has it. It's just a different level in what they take it to. So, like even when you were kind of wondering, is it about this? A lot of times people just have personal things that to them, it's uplifting enough because they're like, I wasn't even doing this 3 months ago. Like for some reason, all of a sudden it clicked, and that brings them just to another step. That's that next step to the next thing that they want to do, So I was just talking to someone today at that tournament. They knew they had a match coming up they weren't going to win, it was a tough guy. And it's like, I've never beaten him before. I'm like, hey, get a takedown. Just work on that. Yeah. Just worry about that. Just get a takedown. If you get that 2 points or that 1 push-out point, awesome. Go, go from there. So I think knowing that the little things that people can grab on, especially with a sport that's as difficult as jiu-jitsu or wrestling, I think it's big to have that mental, and some guys take longer than girls. So guys have a lot of, these mental hurdles and about being good enough. And number one, most of you guys have been competing at such a level now that it is just a mental block because you have the skills and you have the wherewithal and you guys know what's going on. So it's fun then watching you guys transition even more, especially as you're still competing. So, I mean, how was the end, like drawing towards the end of your college, career? What was that like? I mean, obviously there's not an end because you're still in jiu-jitsu. You're still, you're competing in a lot of stuff. So what was the thought in your mind? Because there's so many different options yet for you. What were you thinking towards the end? Like, oh man, I could go do this. I could do this. There's so much left.
Yeah.
How do you decide, or are you just kind of taking day at a time and just kind of doing what you can to make sure that you're staying steady?
Sorry. So like,
I asked a lot of questions.
yeah.
When you're getting towards the end of college, how are you really kind of deciding what you wanted to do, because you have so many options, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So towards the end of like my college season, I had re-injured my knee. So I was kind of bummed about that because it was like one of my last tournaments was coming up.
Okay.
And I had already hurt this knee like 2 times before that.
Oh, really? Oh man.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's never been really bad, but it's still like where like it's like my LCL and my MCL, both of them have been injured multiple times.
Oh, really? Okay.
So like and it's just like little like sprains or like partial tears. Like it's nothing to get surgery on, but like it kept happening.
So much time to heal and everything like that. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So that happened before I want to say it was really close to like my last tournament that I was going to be doing.
Okay.
And I was making weight at 116 during the college season. And like that required me to like do a lot of workouts.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons why I was wrestling so much and constantly in that room, was because I had to make weight.
Yeah.
And so, and especially towards the end of the season, that's always like tough, like to make weight.
It is. You've been doing it all season,
so
man.
Long. Yeah.
And you grow.
So, yeah. And so, I was trying to like, I started getting really stressed out. I was like, shoot, like I can't like go wrestle like as hard as I would want to, like. And so then my coach, like, he like saw me one morning and he was like, hey, like, how are you doing like with your weight? I was like, I'm kind of heavy. Like, and he's like, why don't you just like go up the weight class for this last tournament? And I want you to like heal up though.
Yeah.
Because like, so for my last tournament, I ended up going up a weight class.
Okay.
And
be comfortable. Yeah. By all means, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had to get it like all taped up and stuff to give it as much support as possible.
Yeah.
And so I ended up wrestling my last tournament at 123, which that was tough because like I hadn't been wrestling them like at that weight, so like I wasn't used to it. But like still, I wrestled my last tournament, so like that was cool.
Yeah. Right. Right. At least you got to. Yeah. Exactly. Did that affect your knee? Did that affect your knee anymore in that tournament? Wrestling heavier people? No.
I don't think so.
Had it taped up
it was
enough.
Like
you're
sore.
all good.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, that's good. You know.
Yeah.
You go out messing it up more, but so you got to hit the last tournament up. It was a little heavy, but either way, you just wanted to make sure you wrestled it and went out. You know, that's cool.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So kind of like when I started making the decision to kind of like not go back.
Yeah.
That was very I'm like stuttering now. That was very unexpected for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking about that really at all. I just was thinking about strengthening my knee up again to be able to start wrestling.
Totally.
And then I ended up going home for spring break, obviously, and I was with my family, and like I also ended up staying home for another week to do like school online, and then I just went to Florida with my family because like our spring breaks were like mine was this week and then theirs was the week after.
Oh, sure.
So just like I hadn't seen them in so long because at the beginning of the year they all got COVID and stuff. And so I wasn't allowed to see them because at North Central we were still like testing.
Yeah.
So like I'm like, I can't see you. So like I didn't see them for so long. It felt like
that stuff. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
So I decided to stay home for like 2 weeks. And on that first week back, I went back to Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And
back to your back. Dang it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went back.
Yeah.
And it was like, I like saw my coach.
Yeah.
And I was back at Jiu-Jitsu. I was like in my gi, and I was like, oh my goodness, like
where have you
like
been?
I just like I like remembered like everything. I'm like, I started wrestling because of Jiu-Jitsu. Like and so like that's when I was like, wow, like I miss this so much. So then like I remember I was just like thinking about that like feeling, because I went back like almost every single day.
Okay.
I went back to Jiu-Jitsu, that I was home that week. Yeah. And I was like thinking about it a ton. And then we left for Florida, so I wasn't practicing during then.
Right.
But then it was like my last day. I was supposed to be going back to like North Central. And I just like kind of broke down like to my parents. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go back. Like, and they were like, what, why? And like, it was like literally like I was supposed to be like leaving, driving back home. Yeah. Or driving back to North Central, not home. Yeah. But and it took like our conversation took like the whole day, just like talking about like all of these things. And but I ended up deciding that I didn't want to go back next year. So yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like I said, it was like literally just like 2 weeks, and then I like kind of knew like what I wanted to do. Well, like I don't know really how.
I think it's just so others understand too. Like it's not an easy, like you had the feeling first, right? There were still variables in play that you had to, like, because you were wise. You went and you spoke with your parents and had a discussion with them, and I'm sure you had to weigh out pros and cons of things that go on. You had to make a checklist of this makes sense why, this doesn't make sense why, so you had the wherewithal to make a decision like that, so kids don't think this is just like, oh well, they just decided not to. That's not that simple.
It was very thought out,
right? There's a thought process that goes into it, and knowing just kind of how your dad is, and seeing Aiden, like you guys have a pretty good support system together as far as
I do.
Checks and balances and things like that. So that's important too. So other parents pay attention to that, because sometimes your kids aren't feeling it. Sometimes there are things and times where the things that they may say be like, oh no, you'll be fine. But you got to listen to some of those other times, because especially what you were going through, you went through an injury, you were away from something that you still really liked, but then you wound up doing something that brought you to that thing you liked. And that's that. And I can totally understand that, because that's kind of how things work. It's just wasn't one was replacing something. It was just there because of something, and you really liked that other thing. So with that decision, I mean, where did you go, and what happened after that? You talked to your coaches, things like that. And
I talked to my coaches. They were like, I was so scared for that conversation.
That's pretty intense.
But I mean, they're just so supportive, and they understood. I brought up that like how like wrestling is like they love that, and I was like, I brought up how like jiu-jitsu is kind of like my first love, and wrestling was just a little branch. I don't know.
It was a fun thing.
It was part of the journey. It was part of the journey to make me who I am today, and then like also the grappler I am today. Definitely has helped me so much.
Perfect.
But so I was explaining that to my coaches, and they like completely understood that. They're like, we can't keep you away from that, and we know like whatever you're gonna do, you're gonna be successful. And so I can't remember.
We're just kind of bouncing off of that, what your thought process was, going, and making that decision, then talking to your coaches. And so you made the leap, talk to your coaches. Like you said, it's intense. Like it's still a big part of your life as far as what you'd been doing so far. So having that conversation with them, they were really supportive. Were you just then did you take another week to let your leg heal up and then hop back in the jiu-jitsu room, or are you just right back at jiu-jitsu after that?
Well, so at that point I was still like at North Central.
Yep.
I had to finish out like a year.
Yep, for sure.
I finished out the year, and honestly, I was just lifting a lot.
Okay.
Trying to like do a lot of PT and strength because my knee still didn't feel like 100%.
Yeah.
And I would say I did that all the way up until like my last day.
Okay.
I was there. And then when I got back home, I went straight back to jiu-jitsu. So I kind of took like a little bit. It was like probably a few weeks. I can't really remember like the whole like time frame.
Yeah, in between.
But like it was like a little bit where like I didn't really like even like do wrestling or grappling.
Okay.
Or like jiu-jitsu or anything.
Yeah.
So like yeah, which that was kind of weird too. I don't know. I think it was just like a weird time for me.
Right. Well, I mean, it was a weird time. You're coming out of a sport that you were, like you said, doing for a while, but you were injured. Needed some time still in between. So now that you're immersed, are you doing grappling as well? Are you doing like
just jiu-jitsu?
Just jiu-jitsu? Okay, because I know that it's getting really confusing. What the hell is out there now? Like I can't keep up. I knew jiu-jitsu, so I'm good with that. And then there's so many others that have come in, and like I don't understand names. Like I thought I heard parkour, but that's not a combat sport, you know. So with that being said, with the group that you're in with your dad and the 360 crew, want to give those guys a good shout out. 360 Jiu-Jitsu, two locations, Tosa and Brookfield. Where are you mainly out of?
So I'm normally out of the Tosa location.
But Brookfield, where do you live?
Yes, so I live in Brookfield, but it's closer than the Brookfield location.
That's awesome. That makes so much sense. Isn't that cool? I get it though. You could be like, it's on the opposite side. Totally get it.
Yeah. So like, it's like.
Go ahead.
The Tosa location's like 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And then the Brookfield location's like 20. Like it's like 20 minutes. I'm just like, okay.
I don't get it. It's
that's
town. So I used to live down. I was in Milwaukee more obviously, but we cruised all over the place. I mean, we were not hanging out in Milwaukee where we were. That's for sure. We were getting out of Milwaukee a little bit, but familiar with it because I played soccer. That's kind of. That was my gig. And so with the jiu-jitsu world, though, I don't know anything like that. Watching some of I don't know how points are scored, things like that. So now having all of these guys, because wrestlers are really starting to get into that more, especially when they're old like me, or, some of them are like injury guys too, but they can jiu-jitsu because of the way that they can move,
Yes. Yeah.
So it's interesting. And how a lot of wrestlers either translate over, or even now that a lot of jiu-jitsu guys are starting to translate to wrestling. Do you guys incorporate some of that in by you guys now that you have that knowledge and everything?
Yes. The wrestling has definitely helped jiu-jitsu. I feel like takedowns, I mean, that's like why I joined, was like for the takedowns. Yeah. But like honestly, like it's like so helpful.
Okay.
And then also just the speed, kind of like being able to like scramble. I feel like wrestling really helped with that. Because like there are points like jiu-jitsu is obviously it's very slow.
Yeah.
At some points because you're really like every single movement kind of like it really matters.
Yeah.
But like let's just say like you get into a scramble. I find that because of wrestling, I'm able to follow them and be able to land where I want to land, like whatever position that is.
Yeah.
And then also I feel like one thing that's I've noticed, which is like I didn't even think that this would happen, was just my legs are a lot stronger, and that's really good for jiu-jitsu because there's like a lot of different guards.
Sure.
Like so like they'll try to like wrap your legs around, and like I feel like I have a very good base.
Okay.
And I would say that wrestling definitely gave me that like really good like strong base. So like I feel like I'm able, like when I know when they're gonna sweep me, and I'm able to like base out or like try to get out of it.
Yeah.
So I would say that those were like the main things that wrestling really helped me with.
It translated fairly
in
well.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we kind of talk about, you have a coach's mentality there when it comes to talking a little bit about jiu-jitsu and how things kind of transition over. Let's talk a little bit about your coaching at Brookfield East. Yeah. How did that come up? Like, what was, and it's not that it doesn't make sense to me, it makes sense, but how did that roll out for you? Because I mean, you've been wrestling for a little bit, right? But it's such a
little bit.
And I only ask you this question just so people get the scope of what you're doing at an age. How old are you?
I'm 19.
So people kind of understand what the hell's going on here. We're not dealing with someone who's 24, 25, right? This is someone who has kind of done a couple things already, and you have a pretty bright mind as far as the things that you want to do. You know, you have gone to a fairly successful club in wrestling and gotten a good education as far as movement and things like that. And so how did this, you're 19. How did you get approached about being an assistant coach?
Yeah. So, our coach last year, like our head coach, he ended up like retiring.
Okay.
So they were looking for a head coach, and then I guess they were looking for assistant coach. I don't really know who that was last year, but yeah, so they were looking for a head coach for a while, and my dad like was contacting like a bunch of people. He was asking Ben as well, like, hey, do you have anyone in mind? Because it was like my brother's last year, and he's like, oh my goodness, like there's like a lot of like emotions in that.
Yeah.
So they found a head coach. It was like the middle school coach at Pilgrim Park.
Okay.
A lot of those kids end up going to Brookfield East High School.
Okay.
So he moved up to be the head coach, and then they were still looking for assistant coach. And I think from what I've heard, our head coach contacted Ben as well and was like, hey, like, who should I have
out there?
This coach? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he ended up saying my name. And then so I either got like a text or like an email from the head coach. Was like, hey, would you be interested in being the assistant coach? And
that's pretty damn sweet, man. Yeah. That's pretty damn sweet. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you see that, I mean, obviously you're still doing your jiu-jitsu love as far as, sticking with that. Was it still an easy decision? Was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to, something that I can have both worlds right in my hands, like.
So, yeah, I looked at it as like a learning experience, because I do want to coach someday. Like I actually want to own my own jiu-jitsu gym.
Okay.
And I want to be a coach.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is like perfect.
Gotta crawl.
Like, I'll be able to,
that's right.
Yeah. I'll be able to coach a team, and then like kind of learn how like it is as a coach, like what you have to like do.
Yep. That's right.
So I guess that's kind of how I looked at it as, is like, it wasn't necessarily like, it's not something that I like was like, oh yeah, like I want to be a wrestling coach. Like, I really never thought that would happen. But I would say that it was like a really good learning experience for me.
What an opportunity, I mean, and that's the biggest thing. It's if you were to say no, you wouldn't know anything about it,
Exactly.
And God knows with what you're doing, you could have an opportunity to coach down the road. And now you have that little bit, the little bit you can take with you, because it's just listening now, even Liam's freshman year, and listening to what the coaches have to do and the people they have helping them. And then thinking about if those people weren't there, like, holy cow.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot. Like, this isn't just your rec league, kind of the rec department type coaching. Let's go and grab a mat and roll it out and wrestle type stuff, So It's a lot. So I'm glad that you were able at such a young age to have a great opportunity like that and be able to carry on, which just watching Aiden wrestle and things like that. And just the way that your dad is with, competing and staying dedicated to things and whatever he decides to do, usually he looks like he's all in, so there's things that guys like him and I want to do. Just like it was fun trying it, but it's part of the journey, right, guys? But that's where we're at, and it's fun watching you guys take it to that max, the next level kind of thing. So it's really fun, and knowing that, especially the level that you'll be able to coach at high school right away, and having that kind of experience, and now being able to have a hand in coaching with jiu-jitsu and molding. I mean, that's two worlds colliding like that. Those are probably some really good worlds to collide, especially if these guys are all going to start going into MMA, right?
Yeah.
The two closest non-contacting type sports that could get together for that sport, it's the two of the best that could be together. So what's the future looking like for you? What do you got coming up? What are you doing?
Yeah. So right now next weekend I'm going to be competing.
Are you?
I haven't competed. Yeah. I haven't competed since last November.
Okay. You're talking Vegas, right? Where are you competing? Where are you going to compete at?
I'm going to be competing in Chicago. It's a
nice. Tournament. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, not wrestling.
No. So that's the other thing too, is like there's so much going on with that, like we're planning things, like I keep throwing women in the mix out there, like they're not out there, like it's not even so like my brain is completely kerfuffled, and so I asked you about like, oh, you're a head coach, right? No, you're not a head coach. So with that being said, so you're competing in jiu-jitsu. When was the last time you competed?
It was November.
Okay.
Last November.
How's your knee feeling?
So the reason why it's been so long is because I re-injured it again. So
come on, Brooke, what are you doing?
Yeah, but this time it actually has felt like the best it's ever felt, like since I've injured it. Yeah. Because I did like all my PT and stuff, and I gave it like a really good break.
Yeah.
And I've never like had it like feel like so normal. So like I'm really excited. Like I just can't wait.
Just to compete. You doing that stem cell research stuff? Are they injecting you with stuff? No, none of that crazy Joe Rogan stuff. No. Just really good conditioning and putting hard work in.
Yeah.
That's why. So people understand. Yeah, she's 19. Okay, let's make this clear. She is 19. She assistant coach, coaching jiu-jitsu. She's going back to compete. Okay, just because she has nothing else going on, and so this is girls. Pay attention. It's all possible. You stay dedicated to something, and you like something enough. Good things happen, and good things turn out. Patience as well. Yeah. And it's not even like it's patience. You're 19, man. Like you're just giving stuff months, and then it's like, I got this. And so I congratulate you on everything that's happening and going on for you. I'm really proud of the things. So yeah, it's great to see. There's a lot of girls in this state that are trying to do things, and they have people to look up to, and you're one of them, so it's really cool to be able to have that going around, and it's infectious, and hopefully it starts to spread now to every little kind of corner, and we can have all these girls programs coming up and things like that. So with that, you got anything you want to plug? You got so much crap going on, girl. You should be plugging a ton of stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm also right now I'm working on like I've just started kind of like my own business as well. It's called JJLS, which it's short for Jiu-Jitsu Lifestyle.
Okay.
And that's like I'm selling t-shirts right now. So
it's a start.
Yeah. But I'm hoping the goal is to start selling like rash guards as well.
Yeah.
I'm working on that. That's what we wear in jiu-jitsu. Those like kind of like shirts. Yeah.
Yep.
And then shorts to go along with that. So like I've got a lot of like ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. And so I'm also working on that. My dad's helping me with that.
Nick Crawley.
Yes.
What's going on, Nick? Show
the best.
Can't not talk about dad. That's for sure. So you're doing good things. I appreciate you taking the time out to be able to talk to us. I want to talk to you for just a second off air, but as far as what you got going on, high five. Great job.
Thank you.
Stay positive. Keep doing what you're doing. And we're going to end it there. That's been the Vision Quest podcast with Brooke Crawley. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. All of our episodes are brought to you by Appleton Tattoo, located at 117 South Appleton Street in Appleton, Wisconsin, right off the main drag on College Avenue. You can't miss them. I've had some work done. I have a Celtic cross that covers my back that was done by Jason. We're not done yet. Jason Winans and crew, the artists that he have there, those guys are the best in the Fox Valley. They are definitely one to go to if it's something that you've just been kind of throwing around. They'll make you feel comfortable. It's a very clean environment, very nice crew, and very willing to get done whatever you need done when you need it done. You can message them on Facebook. I know they're on Facebook. You can give them a call at 920-604-8289 and get in touch with Jason Winans and crew at Appleton Tattoo, located again in Appleton, Wisconsin at 117 South Appleton Street, right in Appleton. Very flexible hours, great crew, clean environment again. I would not send you anywhere else except for these guys. Appleton Tattoo.